Hello, welcome to the book report. Got one that I think every American should read, and probably people in a lot of other countries too. Tax the Rich: How Lies, Loopholes, and Lobbyists Make the Rich Even Richer. Morris Pearl, Erica Payne, and the Patriotic Millionaires. Um, I think every American needs to read this book. I think anyone who thinks taxes are evil should go live in a war zone somewhere. I mean, you want to, if you think anarchy's so great, I think it was FDR said taxes are the entrance fee that we pay for civilization. So this idea that nobody should ever pay taxes is frankly insane. We do need common public goods. Certain things really have to be done by the government. And in order to do that, we need some kind of tax system. And the wealthiest, most powerful people in the society should pay a higher percentage and should pay more. And they're not even close. In fact, we live in a very regressive tax regime right now. And the super rich are on a whole nother level completely. In fact, not a single proposal in this book would touch anyone who is, I think, making less than $1 million income a year, or who has a net worth of less than $10 million, I think. So, while I think it's good for everybody to pitch in at least a little bit, something token if you're really low income, and I think middle class people should pay a fair share, right? But the super rich need special taxes just for them because it's completely out of control. In fact, that's one of the things I got out of this book that I didn't really quite appreciate. The fact that when you get above hundreds of millions of dollars, you'd have to almost be an idiot not for that pile not to grow almost out of control. And unless we want a new aristocracy, we need a special tax on those particularly large piles of cash. The billionaire tax, as some people call it. It's now becoming a mainstream concept, but I think it's pretty important. And I think a lot of conservatives, as I get older, I do in some ways. I've always been sort of conservative in some respects, but as I get older, I get more conservative, and so old school conservatives. Morris Pearl is kind of an old school conservative, so he will speak to a lot of the conservative complaints around taxes. But again, this is more. Anyway, let's get to. Okay, so one of the lies I really enjoyed was that lie number 10, rich people should not be trusted. One last thing, whatever you do, please don't trust every rich person who claims they want to pay higher taxes. Some of them are lying. Consider Eli Broad, a famous California philanthropist. Back in 2012, he stood with Jerry Brown, then governor of California, and publicly endorsed Brown's proposal to raise taxes on high-income earners, saying, quote, "Those of us that are wealthy like myself should pay more," close quote. Sounds great, right? Well, a Los Angeles Times investigation later revealed that Broad had actually secretly funneled $1 million through a series of organizations in Virginia and Arizona to a California advocacy group fighting against the tax increases that he publicly said he supported. That's right. Broad wanted the public accolades that came with being a tax reformer, but his donation suggests he didn't really want the tax reforms he was publicly supporting. No rich person, including any member of the Patriotic Millionaires, deserves to be taken at their word. Actions and money speak a lot louder than words, and that's how we should judge whether or not a rich person is actually on the right side of this fight. Blah, blah, blah. I'll leave it at that. But you know what? I should probably just read all these lies because I think they're important. And this book is short, succinct, well documented, and well written. So I'm not going to get into the details of these. If you don't agree with some of these, I encourage you to get this book and read it and follow up with the documentation. Anyway, lie number 9, tax cuts for the rich will trickle down to regular people. I think anybody who lived through the 80s and 90s can agree that that's just not, that's a big lie. I'm going to go backwards. Lie number 8, politicians care just as much about their constituents as they do about their donors. I mean, we know for a fact that, well, I'm not going to get into it. The donors run the show, particularly at the national level. Lie number 7, it's their money. That one I really like a lot too. You know, I mean, particularly when you get beyond, you know, $20, $30 an hour. I mean, give me a break. When you know, Bezos earns what, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a minute or something. I don't know. It's probably not quite that high, but I mean, when you get to a certain level of wealth, you're just kind of riding on the backs of the economy as a whole. You're not earning every penny of that. Give me a break. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that. It's their money. I need to stop commenting on these. Sorry. Lie number 6. Rich people's charity does so much good in the world that if we tax them, they won't have enough money to help poor people. I'm not even going to get into that one. But yes, that's a big lie. Lie number 5. Taxing capital gains discourages investment. Definitely a lie. They prove it. I mean, where else are you going to put your money? I'm a long-term investor. If you change the long-term capital gains rate, I'm not going to change this. I'm not going to change anything. You know, I might take out a little bit less each year, maybe. You know, whatever. Lie number 4: business owners are job creators. Now, some people will push back on this, but they get into it. It's really true. Customers are job creators. If you decimate the middle class, the economy will shrink. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. You need customers. Customers create jobs. People out there doing things with money. That's why a big, broad middle class is good for the economy. Lie number 3: people who invest in the stock market are job creators. I will not get into that, but yes, that is a big lie. Private equity investors are job creators. Lie number 2. That's such a big lie that it's actually Orwellian. It's the opposite. That's doublespeak. In fact, private equity investing, it's pretty much their job to reduce jobs, which isn't all bad. I mean, reducing that means increasing efficiency, right? I'm not saying, you know, that these people aren't bad. I mean, everybody's got a job to do, right? And if you can get the same amount of work done and produce the same amount of stuff with less employees, in the big picture, that's a good thing, right? You just need to make sure that you have a safety floor for people who lose their jobs, retraining, and expanding the economy, in job-giving economy in other ways, right? Anyway, and lie number 1: corporate tax cuts create jobs. Yeah, not at all. That's the big lie. Pretty much all those tax cuts goes to shareholders or share buybacks or big salaries for the top people. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, this I was unaware of. I mean, I knew it was a problem. I didn't know it was this big a problem. Basically, the IRS budget has been shrinking for a couple decades now, and it's starting to have some real effects. This section is called the tax gap. Between 2011 and 2013, about 15% of all taxes owed to the government, nearly 1/6 of all federal taxes, totaling over $400 billion per year, ended up unpaid. We don't have more recent data, but at that rate, around $600 billion would have gone missing from the federal coffers, our collective bank account, in 2018. Just 1 year. Now, that's not a hard number, that's an estimate. But that isn't just a colossal number. It also happens to be over 75% of the entire federal budget deficit in 2018. Some estimates put future losses even higher if nothing changes, with a cumulative total of $7.5 trillion missing dollars over the next decade. So way back 8 to 10 years ago, 15% of all taxes owed, just current tax rates, went unpaid. We need to fund the IRS. You know, I mean, if we can get more of the cheats, particularly the wealthy cheats, to pay the current rates, we would go a long ways, perhaps all the way, to closing our budget debt. Well, not today, because things have changed a little bit, mainly because Trump's spending was totally out of control and he had massive tax cuts. But anyway, we need to enforce the rules that are on the books, right? And get the cheats to pay their fair share. And that's just with the current rules. Forget about the super rich being undertaxed. Okay, and then the last thing I'll highlight is just how popular taxing the rich is. I don't need to go into the numbers. Basically, taxing, I think basically the point is that there is broad awareness in the American people that extremely wealthy people should be paying more taxes, and they should. You know, if we don't want to create a new aristocracy, a new class of super powerful families, we really need a special tax on these really huge piles of money. It's crazy. Okay. Highly recommend it. In fact, I'm going to buy a few copies and pass them around. People should be a lot more pissed off. And a lot of it has to do with where we go as a society and how powerful and how huge some of these piles of monies are going to get. And if we don't do anything, looking out 100 years or more, we're going to have problems. It's not even about just paying to do stuff. It's more about living in a society in which an average voter has enough power to actually influence things a little bit, and we're already kind of beyond that. And it's just going to get worse if we don't rein in the super rich a little bit. And I'm all for people getting rich. Don't get me wrong. More power to them. But the people who benefit the most need to pay the most. So, including me. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I should pay higher taxes. I should. A little bit. So, anyway. All right. Until we meet again, happy reading.